Yo, this is such a good episode. Like, this entire scene where we see our main character just writing his bucket list, it felt so personal. It felt with a dash of realism. And I know at the end of the day that this is like a zombie series and all that, and you can't ground it saying it's trying to be exactly realistic, but something about the character just writing in a notebook, writing out what he wants to do, these simple things of like go home and spend time with his parents or, meet a girl that he could eventually marry, all these little things, it feels very powerful. And the reason for that is because a lot of people, in life, we go day by day. We live day by day, week by week, paycheck to paycheck, and we don't really think about like these multiple goals or what we want to do before the day we die because life is short. And any given day, you can die. And obviously, this series is really just trying to convey that overall message. And so you should always try to live life to the fullest. And so the character sitting down trying to figure out what he wants to do is a very powerful moment. And I would say, despite obviously the art and animation not being the best of this moment, like in terms of like everything else that the series has to offer, I think that it was probably the most impactful scene for me just because of the message of it and what it's really trying to represent. I guess it technically is the core theme of what Zom 100 is about, since the title of the series is Zom 100 Bucket List of the Dead. So when you think about it, it is the core theme of the series, so it makes sense why it would be very emotional, probably one of my favorite moments of the episode. But still, I do think that this is a very powerful moment that really kind of blew me away when I watched it. But let's get into it. So this episode of Zom 100 starts off with our main character kind of having PTSD. He's at the workforce, he gets to see his boss and all that, and as the dream gets a little bit more crazy, he wakes up and realizes it was just a dream, and that old life he had is gone, and now it's a zombie-filled world, so to speak, and then the opening song starts to play. And I think that this is legitimately interesting, just showcasing the overall aftermath of just what the regular world did to the MC and how it really destroyed him. And it's crazy to think that despite all that, this world, when he walks out, and he stretches and then there's like zombies below him, it showcases just how much he disliked his life at the time until this all happened and freed him to allow him to do anything he wanted. It just says a lot. There's a lot of ways you can dive into this and talk about this from a very realistic standpoint, but I'm not going to go too deep into that. But the point of the matter is that the opening song starts to play, and I want to say I really do like this opening. I want to go on record to say I like it. But as the opening progresses, it devolves into, honestly, laziness. That is the word. And no, maybe that's harsh. Okay, that sounds harsh. That sounds very harsh to say. I wouldn't say lazy. That's not a good word to say, because people are going to assume I hate it. I just feel like it's very clear that they cheaped out to a degree with the opening song. And hear me out, okay? Just listen before I'm crucified, so to speak, okay? So, once again, visual speaking. Like, if we're looking at the visuals of the opening, it's good. But if you think about episode 1, all these visuals that happen throughout basically the second half of the opening is just footage being reused from episode 1. And there's nothing inherently wrong with that whatsoever. But when you're having to use scenes from like a certain episode for your opening, it kind of showcases maybe like you couldn't be bothered to make an original opening with its own opening sequences. But it also showcases why the visuals in episode 1 were so good, because they were reusing scenes from episode 1 that they wanted to use for the opening song. So that's why there were so many scenes that really just, it popped, because they expected to use it for the opening. So yeah, that is some food for thought there. But the point of the matter is that I like the opening song. I legitimately do. I like the music. I like the visuals of it. Even with the reused assets, I think that it's a legitimately good opening song. But like I said, I would be lying to you if I said that it didn't cut some corners, and it clearly did. But besides that, let's move into the actual content of the episode. So the episode really does a good job of showcasing someone that is trying to adjust to his new life of like, oh, I'm free from work, I want to have a relaxing day. He uses the free time he finally has to clean his room for the first time in 3 years, which is just ridiculous. It just really goes to show how much he was stuck at the office in his state of depression, because he didn't clean for that long. And then finally, he's able to do that even though the world is technically coming to an end. You would think when a world is in a state of emergency and it's kind of coming to an end, cleaning would be one of the last things that you would want to do. But at the end of the day, it's all about mindset. And he was already basically in a zombie apocalypse before the zombie apocalypse happened, just because he was not happy with his life. So now being in an actual zombie apocalypse and being free is allowing him to really live his life to the absolute fullest. And obviously, even though he tries his best and he gets to see that the world isn't perfect, that people are dying, etc., he realizes things are pretty bad and that he could die at any moment. And so he does make this bucket list at the end of the episode, like I talked about, because he realizes that despite him wanting to have fun and he's fine with the world like it currently is, he does want to realize that could end at any moment. So he wants to do as much as he can before the day he dies. So I do think that's pretty interesting. Now, besides that, we got to talk about just this new character that is introduced, and I want to just say absolutely gorgeous. Gorgeous female character. I'd be lying if I said she wasn't. She's gorgeous. I love it. I love the character. I love her introduction. Really, really good character. I love her. She is... I hope she's the main female character. I really do, because she is such a... she's a baddie, so to speak. I like how she is. I like how she's trying to survive, etc. Just everything about her character. She has a really nice personality, at least so far from what we've seen. Good character design. I like her. I don't know. I really like her character a lot. I really hope that she does not die, because obviously this is a zombie apocalypse. Anything can happen, characters can die, and that's the fundamentals, I guess, of what the series is trying to say as well, is that you need to do the most you can before you die. And I also like how her very fundamental objective within the story as well, that's trying to convey to you, is that she's trying to basically, She's trying to do a list of things to prevent herself from becoming a zombie, which is kind of like she's wanting to survive as long as possible, while the MC has kind of resigned himself that he will become a zombie, so he wants to do everything before maybe he dies, which could be in a day from now. So I do think that's interesting, just the overall mindset of the characters, because they're similar, but they're also very different as well. But let's get into the actual message that this episode tries to convey. People are obviously trying to figure out a way to survive in this apocalypse, which anyone would in a zombie apocalypse. She tries to figure out if there's, differences between zombies, like walking zombies, running zombies, and obviously this is a good question, because in a zombie story, you gotta fundamentally think about, okay, is there gonna be special variants? Is there gonna be, just one type of zombie, because it really just depends on what zombie apocalypse you're currently in. And clearly there is running zombies and there's also walking zombies. So what's to say that there isn't maybe variants of zombies, like zombies from Left 4 Dead type stuff, zombies that can pounce you, or zombies that are built like a literal truck, stuff like that. You have to wonder if there is variants of zombies, something like Resident Evil or something. And so she does try to figure this out, and clearly at this point in time she only says that there's running and walking zombies. So there's nothing special so far, but this is early in the zombie apocalypse, and we also don't know the real reason of why the zombie apocalypse happened. It could have been because of a random virus that mutated, could have been a science lab thing, we don't really know, but obviously this is probably going to play a part eventually as well to the actual story of where it kind of all came from. But, for the most part, I do like the way the directing of this episode was, because it shows the perspective of the main male character and kind of how he's living his life, but then to the female character of how she's living her life and going her day by day. I do kind of like that. It's a very interesting way to kind of showcase an episode, kind of letting us know that she's sharing the spotlight with the main character, which implies to me that she is going to be the main female character of the story, and probably live for a very good long time. Now, besides that as well, I do want to take a few moments to talk about, after, he comes home from his beer run, he looks into the apartment of his neighbors and he realizes they're dead. And let's talk about this. Basically, he was only gone for maybe 5 hours or so, who knows how many hours, but he was gone for a little bit. And when he left, his neighbors were alive. And they seemed fine and all that. And he was going to go get them food, bring it back to him. And then he comes back, and obviously you see the state of the place, and they're dead. And I think that legitimately this says a lot. This was a wake-up call for the character, showcasing that with any given moment, people can just die, people that's close to him, any bonds he finds, they're dead. And I guess this is a very powerful message to kind of showcase that he's not a complete and utter psychopath, because I think that's what some people might get at this point, that for someone to be like he is, so happy within a zombie apocalypse, you would have to be a little bit of a psycho or something. But he's clearly not. He does have emotions here, even if it's not fully conveyed. He has emotions emotions about their death, and he realized that he needs to be a little bit more serious about it, and he thinks about it in isolation and loneliness and starts writing. So I think this is a very powerful moment. So once again, it grounds our character and showcases he's not just demented in the mind or whatever. So yeah, that is something to talk about. But yeah, overall, I do think that this is a legitimately good episode. I love the ending song, by the way. I think the ending song is leagues better than the opening song. I'm just gonna be completely blunt here. But yeah, I do like this series a lot. Zom 100's been really fun. I love this episode, and I cannot wait to see where it's gonna go next. But I'm gonna leave it at that. Thank you so much. Be safe, stay healthy. Chibi out.